Bonjour, bonjour. My name is Josette Marsh, and I'm the president of the Alliance Française of Reno and a vice president on the Federation AF-USA board. And it's my pleasure to welcome you today to Déjeuner with Jacques Pépin. The Federation AF-USA is the largest Alliance Française network in the world, helping over 25,000 learners of French each year. And as you know, all of the events on the Federation website, afusa.org, are available to our member chapters to share with your membership. So be sure to check out the website to see what's coming up in the next few weeks. So a few housekeeping notes before we get started. Please stay on mute during the presentation and stay on speaker view. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. If you have any technical issues, just log out and log back in using the same link. This event is being recorded for our YouTube channel, and total runtime will be 1 hour. Our distinguished guest, who really doesn't need an introduction, is an award-winning chef, author, culinary educator, television personality, and artist. He is the recipient of 24 James Beard Foundation Awards, 5 honorary doctoral degrees, and many, many other awards, including the 2015 Federation AF-USA Prix-Charbonnet, which I had the honor and pleasure of personally presenting to him in San Francisco in 2015. And now I'd like to introduce Renee Ketchum, who is the president of the Alliance Française in Greenwich, Connecticut, a vice president on the Federation AF-USA board, and managing director of Focus on French Cinema 2024. And she'll be conducting the interview with Jacques. So, Renée, je te passe la parole.
Thank you, Josette, and welcome everyone to Déjeuner with the Chef Jacques Pépin. We hope that everyone is enjoying their lunch, highlighted by a conversation with Jacques Pépin. Welcome, Chef. Before we screen, bonjour. So we have a little video to screen, but before we screen this fabulous short video on the perfect omelette, where I have a couple of wonderful anecdotes, we would love to start by asking you to share with our audience, if you can, your most memorable lunch, what you served or were served, and with whom.
Oh boy, my most memorable lunch. I have so many 100,000 of lunch. What I remember is the thing with people you love with the family, you know, more than the food. Actually, I had a great lunch 2 days ago, on Tuesday in New York with Lydia Bastianich and Christopher Walker, you know, the artist, and Jeffrey Zakarian, another chef. So we had a great lunch at Beko. Yeah, so that's the last one that I remember at a great lunch.
Oh, thank you so much. That sounds like a fabulous lunch. So now we'd like to show a short video. So Melissa, are we ready with the video?
Hi, I'm Jacques Pépin, and I'm cooking at home. You know, when I don't know what to do for lunch or dinner, even, I usually end up with eggs. And I wanted to show you here how to make a kind of country omelette. Very easy to do, very inexpensive, and always great to eat. So the first thing on this one, I would start with a couple of tablespoons of oil. This would be an omelette for 2 people. I mean, very generous. Yeah. And there I'm doing it with potato. Here I have a medium potato, half an onion, and you want to saute your potato and your onion first. Okay, so here they are, potato and onion. It's going to take about 4 or 5 minutes to cook, a dash of salt on top of it, of course. I may even cover them and cook them gently. Then in there, I'm going to put 4 eggs, or else break your eggs flat like this, inside salt.
pepper, chives. I do use a lot of herbs. I mean, chive parsley, and one of the reasons is that I have a garden and it's plentiful, and at that time of the year, I always use it. When you have to pay a small fortune for the little bunch of it, I use it less. See how my potatoes are doing here. They're starting to brown. Make sure when you beat your egg like this that you just don't go in the center like this, because it's like a wet mop. Go from one side to the other to really break the white. So you don't have long streak of egg white. And here I'm putting about 1/3 of a cup of Gruyere cheese, or mozzarella, or Jack cheese, any cheese, or no cheese at all if you decide. What we're gonna do is cover the omelette with a tomato. So I'm going to cut a plum tomato here, about 5-6 slices of tomato that should cover. Let's see. Yeah, the potato are cooked now. So you want to go on. This is a small pan, a 7-inch total pan, and for an omelette for 2 is great. I'm going to finish that omelette under the broiler. The first thing that we do, however, is to cook the eggs. And as you can see here, I'm going to bring them around to mostly cook them. But I still like it slightly wet in the center. That's purely a question of preference, It's still a bit wet, as I can see. So now I'm going to put my tomato on top. And basically, one tomato should cover about the whole thing. Maybe a dash of salt on top. And a little bit of oil too. And then I'm going to put that under the broiler. I have my omelette now. Underneath, as you can see, so that I could unmold it, or make it slide. Usually, with a good non-stick pan, it should slide out. You can put a little bit of oil around on the edge. Okay. Yep. I could unmold it this way, or as I said, if you want it the other way, it should slide around this way. If you like that look better. So here you cut that omelette. As you can see, that omelette will still be a little wet inside, and that's how I like it, especially how Gloria likes it. So this is the country omelette. Makes a beautiful little light dinner with a salad. It's terrific. Hope you make it. Happy cooking.
So Jacques, I want you to know, and the entire audience to know, that I made this last night, and I will never make an omelet any other way. It was absolutely amazing. And so I wanted to offer a quote to our audience, but literally everybody, it's an amazing recipe. But I found a quote in doing some of my research. Anthony Bourdain said, and I quote, "If Jacques Pépin shows you how to make an omelet, it is pretty much settled. That's God talking. So coming from Anthony Bourdain and coming, I'm sure everybody's going to try this recipe. It's extraordinary. It's delicious.
But he said also, I have a show on PBS did an American Master on me called The Art of Craft, which is an hour show. He started the show. And it's really funny because he said, if any one of you are spending the night with a partner and having a good time, make sure that when you get up, you know how to make an omelette, according to Jacques Pépin. So he was telling it. He started the show this way. So it was really funny. He was a good friend. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's just delicious. And I've never, anyway, so the next question, we have so many things we want to ask you. Jacques, you have a new, beautifully illustrated book coming out, I think it's September 26, called Cooking My Way.
Right.
How is Cooking My Way different from the 1992 Pepin Économique, which I understand the book is modeled after?
Right. To start with, I want to say that it's the first time that I see that video. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I hadn't seen the video before. Yeah, during the 80s, for about 10 years, I had a column in the New York Times, which was called The Purposeful Cook, which was to cook for a family of 6 people for minimum amount of money, you know. So I took back some of those ideas there. We redid the recipe and so forth. But ultimately, I have 30 books or so, and it's because I did, I did 13 series of PBS of 26 shows. So each time we had a book. So each book usually is kind of specific to a certain area of food. Like I did a book for the Cleveland Clinic for cardiac patients, so that's very special to this. The column that I had in the New York Times was Economy in the Kitchen. And then I did 3 series on PBS called Fast Food My Way. So I wanted to show people how to use the supermarket, how to prep cook. See, when you're in the kitchen, you have a prep cook who come and bone out the chicken, fillet the fish, slice the mushroom, chop the shallot, and you have everything ready for you. I get to the stove, someone order a piece of fish, I grab it, a bit of shallot, a dash of white wine, cook it 1-2 minutes, finish it with a piece of butter. I can do that recipe in 4, 5, 6 minutes because all the prep are there. So I wanted to show in those series, I have the package from the supermarket. I buy boneless, skinless breast of chicken, pre-sliced mushroom, and so forth. And I had a non-stick pan and show people with this, you can do 3, 4, 5 recipes I did in like 30 minutes for the show. So each of those different books, because the address usually, I did another book called The Shortcut Cook and so forth. So this one is Economy in the Kitchen. Although economy, for me, is always present in everything that I cook. I mean, I was raised during the war in France, and my mother could cook incredible food, but she was very miserly, certainly in the kitchen, like I am. So, but it's part of tradition, part of the culture, I mean, in France, I count 12 restaurants in my family. With my 2 aunts, my mother, my sister-in-law, my niece, all women. I was the first male to go into that business. So that type of woman cooking is usually pretty efficient, inexpensive and well done and simple and straightforward. So it's the same type of cooking that I have in there.
Melissa, could we see a slide for the book? So everyone, here's a slide to purchase Jacques' book. I think it comes out on the 26th. I think all of us would be thrilled if you would buy it directly from RJ Julia, which is in Madison, Connecticut. I'm in Madison once a month. It's one of the greatest bookstores in the United States. And it would be great to support them. They're an independent bookstore that's very popular in the community. So jot this down. We'll put it in the chat, but please buy it from RJ Julia if you can.
Right. I sign books there all the time, and they did a good job there with the painting. Also, with my friend Tom Hopkins, who lives here in Connecticut. We've been working together for 40 years, so he's done many, many books, and he does my art site also. So all the picture in the book of the food, of the art, is the one who did it. So, yeah.
So please buy it there. All right, Jacques, my next question is, The recent Food and Wine article written by Kat Kinsman introduces you as one of the food world's living legends with a career that spans 8 decades. Many of us in the audience have collected your books, watched your videos, and spend hours in the kitchen trying to recreate your recipes. However, some of the audience may not be aware of the Jacques Pépin Foundation, founded in 2016 by your daughter Claudine and your son-in-law Raleigh Wesson. Would you tell us the concept behind the foundation and its success in serving adults and communities that have been disenfranchised by life?
Well, you know, I've been teaching cooking. As you say, I was in apprenticeship in 1949. So, I mean, and when I left, when I was 13, I left a restaurant where my mother was the chef. I mean, run the restaurant. I was already working there in the kitchen. So I've been there all my life. So at some point, my son-in-law, who teaches at Johnson and Well, and a great guy, told me, you know, at that point in your life, who would you like to teach? You know, and we thought for a while, and I said, maybe people who have been a bit disenfranchised by life, you know, like people come out of jail, homeless people, you know, former drug addict, even veteran, and so forth. So it's not young people, and we do that through community kitchen all over the country, you know, giving them $10,000 grant or 20, giving them book, video, because I feel personally that you can redo your life in the cooking world if you like to cook, if you like to work with your hand. Within 6-8 weeks, I can train someone 6-8 weeks to clean salad, to peel potato, to do all the basic that you need in the kitchen. And if you like it and you stay there, maybe 5 years later, you're the chef there. You know, you move up. And a way of redoing your life, making a living, and you know, getting proud of yourself in many ways. And food do bring people together. You know.
Melissa, can we see the foundation slide? So if anybody would like to sign up, if you can see the 2 posters behind me, there's some, it's a wonderful foundation to support at any level that you can afford, and to support these adults and communities that have been disenfranchised is a great gift for those of us who love to cook. So my next question, Jacques, is, I understand from reading a few articles and listening to many videos that you have historically said, entre guillemets, yes to most opportunities. In an interview with the Harvard Business Review, Maureen Hosch asks you about a no that was a major career decision to turn down the Kennedy White House to work for Howard Johnson. Can you please elaborate on that no in your career for listeners today, and why you made that choice?
You have to look at it in the context of the time. You know, when I work for the president in France, I worked for the president from 56 to 58 in Paris with de Gaulle. I survived unaware, Nehru, Tito, though they were the head of state at the time. Never once ever would have anyone call you to the dining room to have kudo from the guests. That did not exist. The cook was in the kitchen there, and no one would ever call you in the dining room. I had never had an interview in France. Television barely existed, but radio, newspaper, magazine article, that did not exist. So the cook was really at the bottom of the social scale, if you want, and any good mother would have wanted their child, another 5 minutes. But I have something in the oven. Any good mother would have wanted their child to marry a lawyer, a doctor, certainly not a cook. So when I came to America, I worked at the Pavilion, which was, you know, maybe the most famous French restaurant in America at the time, with Pierre Franet. And Howard Johnson was one of the patrons of the Pavilion, and he asked Pierre to come and work with him. And at the same time, it was early 1960s, I was asked to go to the White House. But I did not, to be truthful, really realize the potential, because the cook was nothing. So I didn't want to move again. I was going to Columbia at the time. I was doing other things in New York. So I didn't want to move to Washington. And I thought that Howard Johnson would be, and it turned out I was right, to be a totally new experience for me to work in production, marketing, and stuff that I have never done before. When I left Howard Johnson, I was there 10 years, 1960, 1970. I opened a restaurant on Fifth Avenue called La Potagerie with production of soup. I opened the World Trade Center with Joe Baum. We could serve 30,000 people a day. I was a consultant at the Russian Tea Room. I'm saying all of that to say I would never have been able to do any of those jobs without the training of Howard Johnson. As a French chef, I didn't know about production, marketing, chemistry of food stuff. So Howard Johnson was terrific for me. But I mean, as I said, to be truthful, actually the one who went, it's a friend of mine who was a sous chef at the Essex House. And I called him, it was René Verdon. And I said, they're calling me at the White House. They called me a couple of times. I said, are you interested? He was interested and he got the job. And I know a year or two later, he sent me a picture of him with Mrs. Kennedy and with the President Kennedy. I'd never was in front with the president taking a picture with me, you know, so it was already changing already a lot. But if you ask who was the chef before René Verdon at the White House, it turned out, from what I was told, it was a black lady from the South. So no one would have known her name, or whether she was no more than knew me or whatever at the time. So it was a different world. And so, you know, this was my decision at the time. Yeah.
Thank you. So the next question is a little bit out of the box and a little bit personal, not personal in a negative way. There's a lot of innovation, or what some of us deem as deprivation in cuisine today. With good food, in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, being one of the great luxuries in life, how do you feel about some of the current trends in the new landscape in eating and cuisine, specifically plant-based, gluten-free, dairy-free, highlighted by non-alcoholic wine?
Yeah. You know what? This is another world. I don't remember, you know, I work at the Plaza Athénée, Maxime Fouquet's in Paris with the president. When I work at the Pavilion after here, I've never heard until maybe 20, 30 years ago, anyone asking, is there anyone allergic to anything? The word allergy did not exist. We never had that type of thing. So I don't know what we've done in the food in the last 30, 40 years. For all of those people to have those type of allergy, which didn't exist before. I mean, when I invite people for dinner at my house, I never ask. Anyway, I do whatever I think they're going to like to, and if they cannot eat that, well, they'll eat something else. But the point is that, in a sense, you know, when I came to America in 1960, there was one salad in the supermarket that was iceberg. You know, there was no leek, no shallot, no oriental vegetable, no the salad, no good olive oil too. So it's another world now. I mean, the supermarkets have never been as plentiful as they are now. And now, a little bit like when I was a kid, many chefs that I know go to farmers market. There is farmers market, even one in Madison where I live on Friday. There, so farmers market, people get closer to whoever grow anything and cook. So it's closer to, in a sense, the way it was when I was a kid. On the other hand, in the last few years, I've never seen as much prepared food as there is in supermarket now. Hundreds of sandwich and too. So, you know, there is a dichotomy. Some people are interested in going to the market, going to farms market and cooking, and others who only buy prepared food and only eat this way over and over again. So there is that type of dichotomy who maybe did not exist a number of years ago. And I don't know what to do with that.
Believe me, I don't know what to do. And I'm trying to organize a wedding for 200 people with this problem. The next question is, while working at Le Pavillon, I understand that you were working on a master's and PhD at Columbia, which you just recently mentioned, with an interest apparently in the history of food in the context of literature. From the poems of Pierre de Ronsard, specifically the poem La Salade, to Proust in the 20th century. How important is food historically and currently in literature? I'm a film person, and we see a lot of food in the film industry recently, specifically with Eric Bénard's recent film Délicieux and Frederick Weissman's new 4-hour film that's coming out next week on Plaisir de Trois Gros. So how is food important culturally to you?
Yeah, much more than it used to be. I mean, Babette Fish started, you know, years ago. Certainly, it was another world. When I proposed that doctoral dissertation at BU, I did a master on Voltaire, so I was in literature. But so I said, I want to do something with food now. And they look at me, they say, that's not serious. I mean, you know, you cannot do things with food that's not important enough or whatever. So it's another world now. There has been hundreds and hundreds of food. And actually, I moved to Connecticut in 1976, and a couple of years later, I gave a class at Wesleyan University. They asked me to do a class on the history of food, context, civilization, literature. And I did, and someone ordered that class from BU, Boston University, and they said, well, we're opening that program. Are you interested in coming? I said, yes. And that was, over 40 years ago. So I've been teaching at BU over 40 years. I'm teaching next month. And in the 80s, I started cooking with Julia there. Julia Child lives in BU, and she's a good friend of mine. And we created that Master of Liberal Art with a concentration in gastronomy. And it still exists at BU, and to my knowledge, one of the only places in the country where we do that type of research. So it's been pretty gratifying, and now my daughter went to BU, and now my granddaughter is at BU. And I'm at BU too. So that's great. It's different than it used to be. Yes, certainly.
Thank you. Before we start to take some questions in a few minutes, you admit to being 87. So I'm going to take the liberty, or we're all going to take the liberty of asking you, what keeps you excited about life? And are there any secrets to your success and your longevity?
Wine, good wine, ordinary wine, any wine. Wine. No, wine, Fran is very important. You know, we are a group here of about 50 people who play pétanque. You know, the bull game we play in France, similar to Bacci, in Italy. And we, at least 8 of us, have a bull court in our house. So we have at least 8 big banquets with people sitting down for a dinner for 50 people, but we play the whole summer. So, Fran, sharing food, being together, and that has a great deal to do with life. I mean, for me, my wife passed away couple of years, 3 years ago almost, and I still, miss her having a bottle of wine, sit down for dinner, a bottle of wine, and sharing dinner. We did that for over half a century, and that was the end of the day, the culmination of the day, and we still live this way. So yes, when my daughter come or friend come, I have friend coming out for dinner tonight. That's why I have stuff in the oven. So. Yes, living together, cooking together and enjoying life, it's important, so yeah.
It's very important. Thank you. So my last question before we open it up to the audience is, what's next?
Next? They're more of the same, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I have over 30 books, and this is the last book. I don't know what else we'll do after. I'm selling painting now more than cookbook. I mean, it's amazing. I never did that for for over 50 years or more. I always gave painting to whoever wanted one of my painting. And then Tom Hopkins there at some point said, I'm going to do an outside with you. And now he's selling my painting. And it's kind of a new thing in my life too. And it's very exciting. The foundation is very exciting too. We do make a lot of people happy, and it's not young people usually. And Facebook, for me, it's exciting too. We used to have like 300,000 people on Facebook before the pandemic. I think we have like 1.8 million people now on Facebook. So it's kind of crazy, and it's very rewarding in many ways too, so.
Well, thank you, Jacques. Let's see. We have a lot of questions in the chat, I think. Melissa, I'm going to look. Okay, the first question, we'll start at the beginning. Alan Tausch says, first of all, after seeing the video, I just decided what I'm having for lunch today. So, hang on one second. Allison Tramp is asking you, did you enjoy working with Julia Child?
Yes, well, I met Julia in 1960, 6 months after I was in the US. And at that time, in fact, the first time we met, we spoke French. Her French was better than my English. She just came back, spending a few years in France, and at that time she hadn't done any book. Was never like the food editor of a magazine. Television really didn't exist, so she was really not known at all. And we met at my friend in New York, Helen Macaulay, who was the food editor of McCall House Beautiful. And she said, oh, I have a manuscript I'm going to show you. And it was the manuscript of Mastering the Art of French Cooking. And she said, can you take a look at it? And I said, that's great. It's terrific. She said, well, the woman is coming to New York next week. Do you want to cook for her? I said, sure. She said, she's a very tall woman with a terrible voice. But that's how I met Julia. And for more than half a century, we were friends, you know. So, and we did show together. And I said she lived in Boston. So we did cooking together at BU. So, yes. And so it was a good friend of my life. We argue a lot. We discuss, argue, and drank wine together. So that's what friends do.
Thank you. From Diane, Diane is asking, you mentioned your feminine culinary influence and also the year 1949. Had you ever heard of André Papillon, chef de cuisine of the fabulous flagship Liberté, and would he also have influenced your career path?
No, André Papillon, no, I don't remember the name. I mean, my age, you know, I forget names pretty easily. But where was he chef at?
Chef de cuisine of the fabulous flagship Liberté.
Yes, where is that?
Don't know. So Diane, maybe if you
on the Liberté, on the ship.
Yeah.
The ship Liberté. Yeah. No, because at that time I went on the Liberté. No, I went on the France. On the France after. On the Liberté was way before. Yeah, right. No, never heard of him. I am old, but maybe not that old. So, 19th century. Okay.
The next question from Emily is, what authors did you study for food and literature besides Ronsard?
Oh, all of the 18th century, you know, Diderot, I mean, certainly 16th century, Rabelais, but the 17th century, you know, Racine, Molière, and so forth, you can find a lot. And the 18th century, in the encyclopedia, for example, Diderot, you have an article which is like 10 pages just on the making of butter and so forth. So there is a great deal in the encyclopedia. And certainly in the 19th century, you know, Balzac, Flaubert, and all that, all of those writers were very, you know, the Ballet of Paris, for example, and Balzac, and Zola, Émile Zola, for example. You have a lot of food, a lot of reference to food. So it was, you know, an interesting thing to do. And Montaigne in the 16th century, in the essay of Montaigne, you know, you have a lot of reference to food and eating habit and so forth. So yes, it's a very, and at that time, I didn't have much, and there was no computer to look at, and there was not that much reference to go to. So, but now there is thousands of books on that subject, you know, so still interesting.
It sounds fascinating. I think all of us would be interested in taking a course on that with you, or any way you could guide us to studying that material. Another question is, Joyce Adams is asking if you will have another show on PBS.
On PBS, not that I think so. Another series, because the last series was about 4 or 5 years ago. It's interesting too, because each time we did a series on PBS, I did 13 series, and I never wanted to be like the executive producer and get involved into the raising of money, which I wouldn't know how to do. So with KQED, the PBS station in San Francisco, where I did work from my show, they would call me, they say, okay, we have money, we can do another series, you know, we raise the money. So I did 13 series, as I said, in like 30 some years. So that was it. But at that time, I remember they had to raise like $1.5 million to do those series and so forth. Now with the telephone that we do those Facebook, they're a little video, and it takes, I do 10 a day usually when we do it, you know, those are like 3-4 minutes, like that omelette that you saw. So I do about 8, 10 a day, and probably the whole thing costs like $300 or $400 of food that I buy. So it's another world now with working with those little video cameras. So it's totally different. And I know that many people still tell me, I see you on YouTube. I don't really have anything to do with YouTube. I don't even know why, but I get KQED and other people. So, you know, those shows kind of get all over the place and never get any money for it, but it's okay.
Linda just has a comment. She would like to thank Jacques for his artwork as well. She says, I have enjoyed his illustrations as much as his recipes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's nice. Yes, it's a different thing than there is similarity. You know, very often I start a painting and I don't really know exactly where I'm going. And then at some point, however, the thing kind of takes a hold of you and then you react to it. And I react to it without even thinking, you know, I put a color there or a shape there without validate what I'm doing too. So when you work in the kitchen, there is similarity. Other professional chef, you work in a restaurant and you do, for example, as chicken sauté with morel mushroom or whatever. So you may do it like 12 times that same evening, 12 different order of it. Each time it comes out, it tastes exactly the same. If someone were behind you and marking exactly what you're doing step by step, 12 times, it would be 12 times different. Not very different, but sometimes the chicken may be thicker, thinner, the pan is hotter, you cook with gas or electric or whatever it may be. It's humid, it's not humid, you're in a good mood, you're in a bad mood. All of that is going to change without even realizing it, because you react to the food. You taste, you adjust, you taste, you adjust, a little bit like my painting, and eventually you do it. So there are similarities for me in the process of cooking and the process of painting. Yeah.
Melanie is cooking the omelette as we speak.
Oh boy.
Andre is asking, as a visually impaired home cook, what advice do you have for blind and visually impaired students to reach their culinary dreams?
Well, the setup of the kitchen is very important here. I work with a lady she was from Colorado, from Denver, and she was blind. And I remember going to her house and there was no light. I said, it's all dark. Yeah, she only put light when the people are coming. She doesn't need light prior to that. And I saw her working, and you know, the setup of the sink, the table where you work, the stove, the pot, all of that was, she could turn around and grab it, and it was very, very close, very tight, very controlled. And that's already a big thing to do, you know, to control your equipment and the stove and all that, to know exactly where it is. Because in a sense, again, in a professional kitchen, you do the same thing without even looking or realizing. You turn around, you grab a thing, you do your mise en place, that is your preparation in front of you. So you have your chopped onion, you have this, you have that, you know, it's on your left, on your right, and you grab things without even thinking about it. So it's a bit of the same process. If you can organize your recipe and with the ingredient, the equipment and all of that this way, then it make your life much easier to cook. Yeah.
Thank you. Christine is saying, I saw you at the 92nd Y in the early 2000s, and you said you thought GMO tomatoes were a good idea. If it made for a better tomato, do you still feel this way today?
Well, it changed up and down, you know. I mean, without the type of production that we've done with food, we already have many people in the world who are dying of hunger, that it would be 10 times worse, you know, being able to grow what they grow in Africa and other part of the world. So yes, I mean, you have to look at it with, you know, you have to look at it each individually. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's no good. Sometimes you object to it, sometimes you're not. But you cannot just do one thing or another and eliminate all GMO food or any other. It's a difficult decision, but you have to look at it. Certainly, as I said, the supermarket have never been as beautiful as they are today, but you go there, the strawberry and all that tastes don't taste like strawberry that I had when I was a kid. They have no taste at all. And they are the same thing year round, and you don't have other, except when I go there to a farm here at the season strawberry, I get a basket of raspberry or strawberries, and it has another taste. Yeah, so in a sense, it's good. We have more product we ever had, but in another way, the products are more standardized too, so that they have less and less taste, so it's a difficult situation.
Thank you. We have a question from Christiane Geisler on the foundation. What is your favorite story with one of the foundation recipients?
The good story with that is that you have people, and a lot of people from very problem with money. I mean, low income, and you train someone like this. We did that at the French Culinary Institute in New York when I was dean there for many, many years. And you give a scholarship or something to one, as we do now. And all of a sudden you see that person 5-6 years later, chef in a restaurant. That's, that you've changed someone's life, and for the better. And that's very, very gratifying and very rewarding. And that happened very often with the foundation. I mean, we're doing I talked to someone last week. We're doing a $3,000 benefit under my wife's name to a young lady cook and all that. And I remember talking to one, and in a sense, she said, that changed my life too in many ways. Excuse me. Yeah.
Thank you. Now we have a little more personal question from Lisa Thompson. Are there any foods that you do not like? In contrast, what is your favorite food?
I am really a glutton, so you put it in front of me, I eat it. Most of there are food that I like less, food that I like more. I'm not crazy about coconut, for example, so I will have some if there is, but I'm not crazy. I like vanilla, certainly, but not as much as we usually put in this country. In France, the vanilla, we put just a touch. Here more, so it's more more emphasis on one ingredient or another, which sometimes I do without. But frankly, there is basically nothing really that I couldn't eat and that I don't eat, whether it was in West Africa, in China, in Russia, or in Portugal. I mean, I eat whatever people. And that's how you get to know people anyway on the road, by sharing food, so.
Thank you. So we have a gardening question from Christine. I learned that you can pick leeks from the garden year round. You can pick them from under the snow in January. Do you do this? And are there any other things in your garden which you are able to pick year round?
No. I mean, I don't get them year round, but it's certainly true that when your leek goes, if you bring the dirt around it, you have a longer white stem. I mean, it's like asparagus. The white asparagus are done this way too. So there is a way of doing this, but no, my garden is strictly a summer garden, and by the time. In fact, by the time, like now, I have tomato in my garden, but of course, at the time when I go to the farm, I can get practically a basket of tomato for $5. So I don't know what to do with my tomato most of the time when it comes, which happened to everyone who has a garden. But it's fun. It's fun. I have to say that I do less and less in the garden than I used to. Too much work, taking take the bad herb and so forth. Yeah, my back. Bad.
Thank you. Erin is asking what your favorite, entre guillemets, easy meal to make yourself after a day of cooking for others.
Well, often, maybe more and more as I'm getting older, I eat soup, and what my wife, we used to call fridge soup. So I open the fridge, and there is some wilted lettuce, a piece of carrot, an onion, whatever. I put all of that in a pan with some chicken stock or water, boil it, and finish it with a bit of pasta. So we do that type of soup very often, So sometimes I emulsify it, sometimes it's in pieces, but yeah. Soup, probably one of the most satisfying things, and it's always different because it's always, whatever I have left over is always different. So
Thank you.
Good.
So Billy is asking which one of your favorite, which is your favorite recipe to prepare, if you had a favorite?
No, I don't really have a favorite, depending whether I have a hangover or not, depending on whether it's summer or winter, whether I want a bowl of soup or I want a tomato salad. It's hot, it's summer, it's full winter. So at that time, if you ask me today what I have, depending the way I am, then I probably tell you, yeah, I'd love to have whatever. But I don't have 1 year round. Each time this is what I want to eat. No, not really.
Joe is saying, I've been making your recipe for rustic apple tart and sharing them with my neighbors. Merci. What is one of your favorite rustic meals?
Yeah, rustic apple tart, it was still one of my favorite and all that. And, in the country, you go if you have a roast chicken. I mean, I still remember, or even my mother picking up those little potato out of the garden. We call quenelle in France, like quenelle. I mean, they are long fingerling potato, and when you get them out of the garden, you can rub the skin off, and it comes off as they are very fresh. And that she sauteed that in a skillet with butter and some oil and peanut oil she used at the time. She never used really olive oil when I was a kid. And then she does a salad, like a curly endive, frisee salad with garlic dressing too, and potato like that with a salad like that. It's a lunch for me. It's great. And that, the dishes that you have as a child are very kind of visceral, very powerful, and those tastes remain with you the rest of your life. So in time of stress, those tastes become very important. You look at those kids who are at war in Afghanistan or somewhere else. What do they dream of at night? They dream of their father clam chowder, their mother apple pie, or whatever it is. So at that time, the food can transcend the physiological function of food to nourish. It become home, it become family, it become love, it become security, it become all of this. And it's the same thing for anyone, regardless of where you come in the world. Those food dishes that you have as child, are very visceral, very powerful, I think.
So true. All right, we have two more questions. Let's start with Patsy Jameson is asking, can you share a story of a catastrophe in the kitchen?
Oh boy. Yeah. One time years ago, in the 70s or 80s, there was a magazine it was called the Go Natural Tour, and I went with them. It was a famous magazine. Anyway, so some people were dancing, some people were singing, I was doing cooking. So I had a segment of cooking of like 20 minutes to do my cooking, and I was doing a souffle. I did a cheese souffle. So they calculated so that I did my segment like 45 minutes before I finished my segment for the end of the show. At the end of the show, I came back on to get the souffle out of the oven, and that was the end of the show. And we were in Sacramento at that point in a big auditorium. There was like 3,000-4,000 people, and usually it was the electric or gas company or the utility company here who supplied the equipment. So when I went before doing my demonstration, I usually would go on stage, put the stove on, put the oven on, know whether everything works. Okay, great, fine. So I go there this time and I did my souffle. I did a little white sauce and the cheese in it with the egg white, did my souffle, put it into the oven at 400, 350 or whatever it was left. And beknown to me, the oven went on self-cleaning. It was like 750 degrees or whatever it was, self-cleaning. So that souffle, you've never seen souffle as burnt, as dark as this one when I came out. I had a standing ovation. People were so happy, so there was no recovery there.
Oh my gosh. Everybody's nightmare. All right, we have a couple of more questions and I think we have time. MA would like to say, do you have any advice for someone who doesn't like to cook? Also, I'm currently in the Middle East. What's your favorite meal from the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia?
Oh, Saudi Arabia. I mean, they are from eggplant to courgette to tomato to peas they have all kind of beautiful vegetable and lamb. I mean, they have great lamb. So, but if you don't like to cook, and then I'm sorry, but you have to start with very little thing, you know, and it's rewarding. Even if you're starting doing a good sandwich or a good soup or something like that, you get used to it. You do. And a lot of people say, I don't know how to cook. I said, well, do you have any friend who cook? They say, yes. I said, next time you go to your friend for dinner, say, can I come an hour ahead and I give you a hand? Or so you come an hour ahead, you bring a bottle of wine, you help your friend in the kitchen, you drink the bottle of wine, and even if the chicken is burned, that doesn't matter at that point. So you have a good time. That's how you learn how to cook.
Perfect answer. Do you ever, Christine is asking, do you ever cook with the microwave? Maybe not. What do you use a microwave for if you do?
No, I do all the time. I mean, in the morning to eat the milk for my coffee, to reheat anything, to, yes, very often I do. I do a friend of mine who did the pasta primavera was invented by a friend of mine at Le Cirque in New York many, many years ago. But it was his mother used to do it. And it was really a tomato salad. So a regular tomato salad with a bit of onion in it, a lot of olive oil, some basil in that tomato salad, cook the pasta, drain it, put it and mix it with that. So I would do that, but at that point, I did it, say that because I did it a couple of days ago. Then I'll take my bowl of tomato salad, put it in the microwave for maybe a minute and a half too, so that the thing is lukewarm, so it doesn't really cool off my pasta too much, and it's just right. So, you know, yes, I use the microwave oven a lot. I could cook corn in the microwave oven for like a minute and a half, and the thing just come out of it, you know. I open oyster in the microwave oven or clam sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, for like 20 seconds or whatever, or 30 seconds, whatever, to just pop up a little bit, you know. So yeah, no, I use that. I first met the microwave oven at Howard Johnson. It was called the Radar Range, and it was enormous with a small door. And the guy came, he explained to me that the way it worked, he said, you know, it's a different way of eating food. It's, you know, the elements, the speed of the element, you know, in that's what created the heat and all that. And he said, in addition to that, he had a little neon light that you have in the bathroom. He was in front, he said, because he said, you see, if you have a leak through the door, that would light up that neon light. He was in front of it, put it on, and neon light light up, you know, that electric, that, you know, start but I never stand in front of the machine again. I said, whoa, wait a minute. So now it's quite different. But those were the beginning of which we used in restaurant after at Howard Johnson. So I was trying it in the test kitchen, doing experiment with them and so forth. Yeah.
So two more. So we have Linda, who loves your apron with the rooster. Is there anywhere she can buy them?
I have no idea. Maybe at the foundation.
No,
Yeah, no. Yeah. Sur la table used to have it.
No.
Yeah, they don't. But maybe she contact the foundation. They have some. Yeah, right.
Okay, perfect. And then I think the last question, we're running a lot of time, is what is in the oven pour ce soir?
Well, I had some eggplants, and which I'm going to fold and do with a bit of garlic, soy, and sesame oil on top. And I'm roasting a cauliflowers too, that I may do with a gratin. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. But tonight we want to order Chinese food, my friends. I say, fine, but I do a couple of things in addition. Then I have those small tomatoes from the garden. I'll do a salad with it.
It sounds delicious. So there's one more question. I'm not sure let's see if we have time. Amelia is asking, what do you think of the homogenizing of cultures, particularly in cuisine, and what is your reaction to it?
Well, sometimes it works good. Sometimes it works good, sometimes it doesn't. If it's just for the sake of mixing one culture with another for no reason at all, you know, it doesn't work. But otherwise, very often, you know, you take whatever American recipe that you have, but if I French it with a bit of garlic and all that, more in Italian style, well, of course you can do that all the time, and you create, and this is what America is all about. You know, I mean, 23,000 restaurants in New York City. The ethnicity that you have there is unmatched anywhere in the world, you know, and that's the extraordinary part of American cuisine, in a sense. because Americans are usually, in a sense, open to more cuisine than other. I mean, in France, people eat French 90% of the time, I guess. In Italy, maybe 95, 98% of the time, and in Spain and Portugal as well. But not in America, depending where your family comes from and so forth, where you are in the country, different restaurant in the area. So there is more, ethnicity and enjoyment of food than maybe any other part in the world, in my opinion.
We have time for, I think, 2 more quick questions. My daughter, Andre is asking, my daughter is currently 19 months old. And what age should I introduce her to the kitchen and cooking?
Well, it should have been introduced already. As I said, hold her in your arm, when you make a soup or whatever, and give her the spoon and make her stir it, move it, make her do that type of thing, or and then she quote made it, that she's going to eat it because she made it with her mommy, so yes, no, right away, yes, you have to do that.
And do you have any tips? Claire Dixon would like to know if you have any tips on the basics of a pan sauce.
No, I mean, if you have a good pan, that is to have the proper crystallization in it. That is, you don't take a thin stainless steel pan because the heat transfer goes there and you have a black spot right there. No, so if you have a thick, heavy aluminum pan, even line up with stainless steel often, then you saute something and you have the juice to crystallize there, and those are glazed. And the process of deglazing is to add liquid to those glazes to release them and add them to your sauce with tomato or garlic or whatever it may be. And that's the process of making, those sauce, yes.
Well, Jacques, we're out of time, and I wanted to thank you on the part of AFUSA and all of your audience right here. And I know I look forward to the next time I'm in Madison, of joining you in your kitchen again for a wine versus a coffee last time. And we're so grateful for everything that you shared with us. And I hope we're going to put the slide up again with your new book. I hope that anybody who's in the area here, Jacques is going to be at the Ferguson Library in Stamford soon. I know I'll be there if you would like to see him in person talking about his book. And please order it from RJ Julia and Chef Pépin. This has been an incredible joy and an incredible honor to have you share your time with all of us at the Fédération des Alliances Françaises. Thank you.
Happy cooking to all of you. Thank you. Okay.
Merci, chef.
Merci. Au revoir.
Merci.
À bientôt.